2 years ago, I picked up a penniless and seriously ill man. I worked 3 jobs a day to cure him. But I couldn't beat the king of hell. I made a ring out of a portion of his ashes and wore it on my hand all day long, never taking it off. At young Master Ryan's engagement party, I carried a tray through the crowd. Despite all my caution, I accidentally bumped into a figure. I looked up in panic to apologize. But when I met the gaze above my head, I instantly froze. And now, let's give a round of applause to the man of the engagement party. Ryan. A spotlight hit my boyfriend of a year dead, illuminating his dismayed face. My mind went blank and I forgot to breathe. I stared at him for a long time without moving, until the master of ceremonies on the stage shouted again. He suddenly came back to his senses, turned around and stepped onto the stage. That back that has appeared in my dreams countless times in a year. I wouldn't recognize it even if it turned to dust. I went crazy trying to catch up with him. I had 10,000 questions I wanted to ask him. Aren't you dead? Why didn't you come to me when you were alive? How did you become the young master of the Lin family? Do you still remember me? But my legs were like lead. I couldn't move a single step. 1,000 words could not be asked, but could only be turned into a silent gaze at the man on the stage. I watched in silence as he and Ms. Vivian signed the marriage contract, and watched in silence as they kissed. The surrounding applause shocked me back to God. The distance between the stage and the stage is only 10 meters. But it's like the distance between life and death, between mountains and oceans. I gazed at the man in the smart suit on the stage and suddenly realized, he's young Master Ryan. And he's engaged to someone else. He's no longer the man I picked up 2 years ago. He's not mine anymore. Like being pierced by the sharpest blade of ice. My heart ached densely. Ryan's eyes glanced at me from the stage. And like a panicked rabbit, I hurriedly averted my eyes and lumbered away from the front of the stage. I actually wanted to leave the venue. But I couldn't. Waitressing is my job. And I'll lose money if I leave early. I was short of money. Very short. I was lost in thought as I cleaned up the dishes and poured drinks for the guests. It was hard to make it to the end of the party. But I was knocked over by a half-drunken guest, spilling all the wine from the tray on the clothes of the person next to me. The glasses fell to the floor with a crisp crack, attracting everyone's attention. Do you know how to do your fucking job? You don't have eyes. Do you? I blanched. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do it. I'll wipe it for you. I hurriedly took out a paper towel, and went forward to wipe the wine stains on the man's suit in front of me. But he swatted it away with a fierce slap. Get lost. Get your manager over here. I stood disoriented, my hands shaking slightly. The people around me had formed a circle, and my mess was all but invisible. What's wrong? A voice came from far away and my body froze. It was Ryan's voice. Ryan walked slowly to my side. I met his gaze but couldn't read the emotions under his eyes. The manager also came running in a panic, frowning at the mess and glaring at me. Ova, what's wrong with you? Don't apologize to the guests. I took a deep breath and took a few steps back, bowing 90 degrees to the man who had his drink spilled. I'm really sorry. It was all my carelessness. I'll take care of your damages. I'll pay the original price. Compensation. A contemptuous laugh came from above his head. Do you know how much this dress costs? Do you know how much this dress costs? You won't be able to pay it back with 10 years of salary. Surrounding me was a bustle of jeers, laughing at my lack of experience and self-awareness. I bit the corner of my lip. A familiar hand touched my shoulder, straightening my deeply bent back. Mr. Brown. Forget it. It's nothing. I'll cover her compensation, and send you a more expensive one tomorrow. Ryan's voice was in my ear, so close I could feel his exhale. The manager kept thanking me. And Mr. Brown waved his hand irritably. Forget it. Today is my bad luck. Bad luck. Ryan? A gentle and sweet female voice came. Ryan immediately withdrew 2 steps and the heat around him instantly disappeared. He took his fiance's hand and patted it soothingly. It's okay. A small accident. It's almost taken care of. The MC said his fiance's name was Vivian. And that she was very pretty and looked like a rich girl. But she was very skinny. Ryan turned to the manager and said, "Take her away. She should be scared." The manager thanked me profusely and dragged me out of the venue. Ryan kept whispering to his fiancée and never gave me a second glance. I returned to my 25-square-foot home in a daze. Sitting disheveled on a stool in front of the window, my hand unconsciously rubbing my ring, memories flooded into my mind like a tidal wave. I picked him up in the middle of the night on the Riverside Bridge. I grabbed him standing on the railing and forcefully dragged him down. "What do you think this is? I'm so poor I didn't even jump off the river. I have no money, no home to go back to. And I'm seriously ill. So I don't have long to live." Ryan looked me in the eye. His tone was light, but his eyes were as bright as the Big Dipper. People are always so strange. Obviously they are not doing well themselves. But they can't stand to see the suffering of others. I brought Ryan home. He said he had blood cancer. His parents died early. All the money was used to cure the disease. And now he is on medication to control it. And the last pill was finished today. I skimmed my lips. And then silently looked for a few more part-time jobs. Ryan obediently went to the hospital for a review and a prescription. His primary care doctor, Green, also said he was getting better. He didn't sigh all day like the other patients. On the contrary, he always smiled. And when he smiled his eyes were always so bright. So bright that he wanted to drown in them. I remember it was a midsummer night half a year later. I took his hand in a seemingly casual manner, put on the ring I had saved up for a long time to buy, and then said in a pretense of light-heartedness, "Look, your name is sometimes, and my name is years, and timeless Avra. The alternation of seasons, and the rotation of the sun and the moon are all in these 2 words. Aren't we a perfect match?" I looked up at him. He looked down at me. The evening cicadas perched under the moon. Twilight in the wind. In this side of the ambiguous glue. He half leaned down and kissed me. We confirmed our relationship from then on. Later, he died. He did not die of disease, but died in a fire. By the time I got home from work, the sky was black with smoke. And Green was there, pointing to an unrecognizable lump of carbon, saying, "I'm so sorry." I shook my head in disbelief. But the lump of carbon had a ring on it. A ring that Ryan never took off after I gave it to him. I had to believe it. The accident investigation said that a child downstairs had left an unplugged hairdryer on his bed and started the fire. Ended up killing 13 people. 4 of whom couldn't even be identified. Dr. Green helped collect Ryan's body, and handed me the burned ashes with both hands. I fashioned a small portion of the ashes into a ring that I wear on my hand all day. The ring I gave him, however, was threaded on a thin chain and kept around his neck. I undid the chain and both rings rested in the palm of my hand. Now that I think about it, there were a lot of people living alone without support in that building. And I had no proof at all that the carbonized mass drive Green was referring to as Ryan. The people in their circle had their hands full. And it wouldn't be hard to buy a funeral home to make a fake of the ashes. The silver veil ring reflected the shimmering light in the moonlight. And I closed my eyes. Liar. I threw one hand hard at the window, and the 2 silver lights disappeared downstairs. For I didn't dream about Ryan this night. Every previous moment of falling asleep, I thought about meeting him in my dreams. And maybe I had already seen him today. So he didn't come into my dreams. The sunlight coming in from the window was pouring down on my bed. I pressed the alarm clock and got up to wash up. Ryan became the young master of the Lin family. Rich and powerful. I was still the most ordinary Ava. Needing to make a living. I cleaned myself up and got ready to go out. As soon as I opened the creaking iron gate, a tall figure stood in the doorway, and I froze twice. Ryan was standing in front of my house at some point. the corners of his eyes glowing scarlet. His palm was up, and the ring of ashes lay still in the center of his hand, while the ring I'd given him was circled nicely on his finger. I saw you with this ring yesterday, and I thought that you might have lost it. Ryan's voice was distinctly husky. I shook my head. I threw it away. I thought it was the ashes of a deceased person, but I didn't realize it was fake. I wouldn't have wanted it if it was fake. He didn't answer for a moment. I looked into Ryan's eyes and he looked at me with a dark tide of unspoken emotions. It's just the two of us in this small place. And Ryan looks at me in silence, as if he's waiting for me to ask a question. It was a good opportunity for me to ask questions and get hysterical. But suddenly I felt tired. What's the point? What's the point of asking? Will he come back if I ask? The facts were already sad and could not be changed. I took a few deep breaths and asked in a calm manner. I didn't have time to say yesterday. Thank you very much for Mr. Lin's help in the crisis. Mr. Lin came over so early today. Is there something wrong? His brows knit into a thin line, as if he wasn't happy. He said sullenly, Don't call me that. Mr. Lin shouldn't have come so that your fiancé would get the wrong idea. I'm very self-aware. I won't mention the past to anyone and won't come back to haunt me. You can rest assured. As soon as I finished speaking, I closed the iron door and prepared to descend the stairs. When I passed by him, my wrist was tightly gripped by him, because the protruding bone was a bit hard on my hand. He froze for a moment. You've lost a lot of weight. Yes. I haven't eaten or drank much in 3 months. How could I not lose weight? I got angry for no reason. Let go. Ryan's grip loose and his voice was a little panicked. I'm sorry. Did I hurt you? Not wanting to hear a word from this man, I jerked my hand away and ran down the stairs. Ryan's shouts rang out behind me, and I kept my feet on the ground, leaving him as fast as I could. The singing was deafening, and the brilliant lights of the KTV stung my eyes a little. These drinks were ordered by the guests in the V1 box. Be smart. They are all rich bosses who can't afford to be offended. I nodded, carrying the sky's price of wine toward V1. As I walked to the door, a familiar name rang out, and I settled in the doorway. Brother Ryan. Congratulations. You finally got your sister-in-law. 3 years. That's not easy. Yeah. I think back then, Brother Lin dared to go for anything he asked for his sister-in-law. Come on. Let's wish our Brother Lin to get what he wants. Let's go. I closed my eyes heavily and pushed open the heavy door. My eyes swept. They were all rich kids. Ryan and Vivian were sitting in the center. Dr. Green was there too. Sure enough. All crooks. Between glasses, I carefully set my drink down. Hello. Here's your wine. I got up to leave, but was stopped by a voice. Oh wait. Why do you look a little familiar to me? Turn around and take a look. I twisted my fingers around my shirt and turned around stiffly. A rich kid with dyed red hair pushed away the woman on his lap and stared forward at me. If it isn't that who? Just the woman that sister-in-law joked about getting Ringo to pick up. Seems like it. Has sister-in-law look. It's really her. I remember she was quite in love with Brother Lin at the time. I'm not saying that. But Brother Lin has the means to pick up anyone. Vivian plucked out a knife. The person who spoke immediately laughed with her. Sister-in-law. I didn't mean to say anything about you. You and Lin are really a match made in heaven. I stood pale, unable to speak with a lump in my throat. Dr. Green's brow was furrowed, his face complex and uncertain, while Ryan didn't share half of my vision. Staring intently at the wine in his hand, Vivian rose from his side and walked over to me. I'm sorry. Your name is Ava. When Ryan was chasing me, I pointed at a random person and said I'd say yes if I could get her, and you just happened to be passing by at the time. I didn't think he'd make it, but I didn't think you'd fall head over heels in love with him. But then, I thought Ryan was nice. and I saw how bad he was with you. So I called Ryan back. You won't be mad. I clenched my palms in a death grip and didn't answer. To apologize, Vivian picked up the overpriced bottle of wine on the table. I'll give you a tip if you open this bottle for me. Anyone who works here should be pretty short of money. Right? I paused for a moment and loosened my clenched fingers, revealing a standard date to smile. Okay, Vivian. I took the drink with both hands and squatted down to open the cap very skillfully. Before I could get up, Vivian took the wine and dangled it over my head and poured it all over me. There was laughter in the neighborhood, and I choked on the wine, slightly unable to open my eyes. Vivian's almost mean voice rang in my ears. If it's not your own, don't even think about it anymore. If I see you pestering Ryan again, the punishment won't be as light as it was today. Got it? I managed to open my eyes and saw Vivian sashaying back to Ryan's side, who finally managed to give me a look, but his eyes were slightly red. Six with my head down, I staggered up to leave when I was stopped by a slightly older voice. Slow down. I turned my head to see that the voice was coming from the corner of the box. It was Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown dropped his folded hands and walked over to me, his fat fingers wiping the remaining stains from my face and ruffling the hair from my face. You're not bad looking, by the looks of it. You're short of money, aren't you? I'll give you $50,000. Mr. Brown said it with great bravado, and there was a burst of laughter from the surroundings. Seeing that I didn't say anything, Mr. Brown said again, What? You don't think it's enough? 100,000. Baby. 100. $0 is a lot. No woman has ever paid this price before. $100,000 a night is indeed a lot. And right now I happen to be very short of money. Not talking? Yo, you're shy. Not saying anything is a tacit admission. He picked up a bottle of wine and slammed it down, turned his head to the people in the box and said, Boys, you have fun. Mr. Brown, I'll lead the way. Mr. Brown, amidst a bunch of compliments of Mr. Brown's dominance and Mr. Brown's might, took me by the shoulders and led me away with a laugh. As I was about to walk out of the room, the sound of a glass hitting the floor came from behind me, and in the next instant, my arm was tugged on with such force that I hissed. Turning my head, I met Ryan's furious eyes. Yo, what's the matter, nephew? Can't be bothered? You want to be a hero? I paid $100,000 for it. Ryan looked like he was pissed off. The rise and fall of his breathing was very obvious. His eyes stared at me without blinking, and the blood was about to spill out of his eyes. Ghostly. I said. Yes. I'm short of money. He cursed angrily, then lashed out and ripped me away from Mr. Brown's arms. $200,000. 7. I looked at him incredulously as the box fell silent, followed by Vivian's uncontrollable chortling. Ryan. He woke up as if he'd been hit over the head with a pot of cold water, his furious eyes gradually regaining clarity, his mouth slightly open as he slowly let go of the hand that was tugging at me. Everyone around me snorted. Sister-in-law. Don't be angry. Lynn is just playing around. Yeah. He was just joking with Mr. Brown. What a piece of work that is. Why would Ringo even look at her? Right? Brian clenched his fists, his knuckles tightening and blanching. After a moment, he dropped his hand and turned toward his seat. Mr. Brown sneered and took off with his arm around me again. All the way there, Mr. Brown manhandled me, and while I had a fawning smile on my face, inside I was sick to my stomach. He took me to the villa, and as soon as he entered, he pressed me against the door and made a move to kiss me. I frowned and pushed him away, pretending to be shy. Mr. Brown, don't rush it. You haven't showered yet. He groped me impatiently. What shower? I can't wait. I climbed onto his shoulder with my left hand and slid my right index finger from his chest all the way up to his face. You'll feel better after a shower. I'll make sure you're comfortable when you're done. Huh? I raised an eyebrow and he backed away. Okay. Okay. I'll do it. Just go to bed and wait for me. Mr. Brown shed his clothes and went to the bathroom. I followed, waiting for the water to turn on. I moved over to the pile of clothes he'd taken off. And after a bit of rummaging, I found my cell phone. Using his memory of unlocking it in the car, he entered the passcode. I flipped through the texts and found the message with the note J contact sent this afternoon. Tomorrow, 300 p.m. Mackerel Harbor. I carefully wiped off my fingerprints and put the phone back down, then pulled out my own phone, switched to another system, and sent the message as it was. Then I went to the kitchen and found a red wine glass. Skillfully opened a bottle of red wine, and pulled a small piece of paper out of my underwear compartment. Poured out the powder inside and mixed it into the wine. Then tucked the paper back in the same way. I returned to the bathroom door with my glass of wine in hand, half leaning against the wall, as I waited for Mr. Brown to finish his shower. A few moments later the sound of water stopped and he came out with a towel around him, his huge belly unappealing to the eye. I greeted him with a smile. Mr. Brown. Been waiting for you for a long time. I half hung on to him, smoothly passing the glass in my hand to his mouth. He ran one hand up my back, but pushed the glass away with the other. No. 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 No, 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 no. I greeted him again. No. This wine is so good. It's a pity not to drink it. Let's drink it, it will help to cheer up. I laughed. But Mr. Brown grabbed my hand and pushed the wine to my mouth. Yes. Drinking helps. Why don't you drink it? It's just as good. His hand around my waist tugged and I was forced a few inches closer to him. The corners of my mouth turned upwards as I chirped back. Sure. But I'm not a big drinker. I can't finish this much. Half for me. Half for you. Okay? Mr. Brown smiled and nodded. My lips were already pursed on the glass when the action was interrupted by a deafening tap on the door. Knock, knock. Knock, knock. The sound of tapping on the door was especially deafening in the silence of the villa. Mr. Brown impatiently put on his shoes. Mr. Brown impatiently put on his bathrobe and went to the door, peeking over the cat's eye to see who was coming down before opening the door. Yo, great nephew. What are you doing here so late? Ryan stood in the foyer with a grim face, his frontal hair dripping downward as it rained outside at some point. He burst in without a word, and when he saw that my clothes were still intact, he looked relieved. And then in silence, he dragged me towards the door. I stumbled as he yanked me, dropping my glass on purpose in my haste and stumbling to follow his steps. Mr. Brown blocks the doorway, his face stinged with anger. I said, "Great nephew. What do you mean by that?" Ryan pulled me behind him and said in a protective stance in a deep voice, "Mr. Brown, when I checked the accounts yesterday, I found that the Bridge Nerve project was missing $80 million somehow. Why do you think that is?" Mr. Brown's figure stiffened and his face instantly became very ugly. A few moments later he stepped aside and cursed angrily. Go. Go, 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 go. Go. Ryan pulled me tightly out again. It was still raining. He didn't have an umbrella. He just dragged me forcefully, splashing a string of water around his feet. Mr. Linney, the man in front of me, didn't respond. Ryan, I bellowed angrily, lashing out and shaking off his hand. He turned suddenly, the red in his eyes not fading halfway. Is that all you need? He hissed, his voice laced with anger. I was stunned for a moment. Then I cooled down and sneered. Yeah. He'll pay. Don't you know that very well? I'm poor. The words stung him into instant calmness. He was a bit overwhelmed for a moment. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Ava. I didn't mean it. That's not what I meant to say. I hugged my arms and said unconcerned lie. It doesn't matter. You've kind of paid me back for working part-time for a year to save you by pulling me out today. But I'd appreciate it even more if you were willing to pay me back the money I spent on you. I waved my hand and crossed over to him to leave. But I was pulled down by a strong force and forcefully pushed into a moist embrace. Ryan, get the fuck off me. There was no response. I struggled violently. But I couldn't push halfway. And as my blood rushed up, I bit down hard on his shoulder. My mouth instantly flooded with the taste of blood. Ryan stifled a grunt. But the hand holding me was still like iron, not letting go of the slightest bit. After a long time had passed, I slowly loosened my mouth. No one spoke, and the only sound in my ears was the crackling of the rain falling on the ground. In fact, the rain is not very big. Just across a year of love and a year of thoughts. After crashing through a scam, doused a once hot beating heart. I didn't bother to struggle anymore. Ryan just held me like that. As if it was just a short time. And as if a long time had passed. He spoke. Ava. Wait for me again. Okay? Wait for me again. It's almost over. It won't be long. When I didn't reply, he added in a shaky voice. I haven't lied to you about anything other than death. My background is real. My illness is real. And my love for you is real. I don't love Vivian. Not at all. I have no choice but to be like this now. He wrapped his arms around me a few more times, burying his face in the side of my neck and muffled. I've missed you this year. I've really missed you. Just wait a little longer and we'll be together in name only. I was silent for a moment as a drop of water crossed the corner of my eye. I think it was rain. I squeezed a few words out of my chest. Are you getting better? He paused and in a few moments said. Yes. Had a bone marrow transplant and was cured. I let out a deep breath. Then patted his shoulder gently. He let go an inch at a time and looked at me with reddened eyes. I smiled in relief. Ryan. Thank you for saving me today. I raised my hand and brushed his messy, wet front hair behind his forehead and said in a voice so gentle it was almost cruel. But my love. She died in the fire a year ago. Ryan's face went blank as I stepped back. That's it. We better never see each other again. I smiled and waved, then turned and walked out into the rain. A few footsteps sounded behind me. But Ryan eventually didn't catch up. My clothes were soaked to the bone from the rain. And I hauled my heavy feet and hailed a cab. That's it. That's it. Ryan. It's good to be apart. Really. 10 when I got home. My phone rang with an arrival alert. And I looked to see that I'd received $5 million on my bank card. The corner of my mouth turned up. I durned it. The next afternoon, I pushed open the door of the nursing home ward. Mom lying on the bed with her eyes tightly closed. The sunlight sprinkled on the bed. Warm and serene. Even though I knew the person in the hospital bed wouldn't open her eyes. I walked in gently, afraid of disturbing her peaceful sleep. 5 years ago, after my father's sacrifice, my mom had a brain attack that she couldn't accept for a while. And I used up all of my family's money to beg the doctors to save her. But in the end she was still brain dead. Nursing homes are expensive. The family money is used up. My meager salary is far from enough to pay for mom's expenses. So I started frantically looking for a part-time job and making money like hell. I'm now a little afraid to think back on how I spent the year helping Ryan with his medical care. I gently moved a stool to sit on the end of the bed and took my mom's hand to give her a kneading massage. Mom, do you remember what I told you earlier about Ryan? He's not dead. He's getting better. Everything's pretty good. But it's a shame he's engaged to Ms. Vivian. He said he had to. But his daughter's not going to forgive him. They're both liars. I finished the sentence and got stuck. I felt that there was nothing more to say about the dullness of life. I leaned down, my head gently resting on her chest. Murmuring, "Mom, when will you wake up? I miss your voice." There was a silence. Only the wind outside the window answered me. The door to the hospital room was pushed open and I slowly got up. It was Drive White, who had been in charge of Mom. Avathira. Your mom's been doing quite well lately. The caregivers have been taking good care of her every day. Don't worry. I nodded. I'll go and pay the fees I owe from before now. I was about to get up. But I heard Dr. Chen say, the outstanding fees have already been paid. And an extra year's fees have been made up. I was just about to tell you that your mom will be moved to the VIP ward in the afternoon. The sunlight over there is better. It's comfortable. I was stunned. Did the person who paid the bill say who it was? Doctor, for a moment. Hiss. What was it called? It seemed to be Lin What. I was dumbfounded for a moment. It was Ryan. I nodded to Drive Chen. Thanks. I got it. As soon as the words left my mouth, my phone vibrated. I pulled out my phone and scratched out the news of Lin and Jiang are about to tie the knot. Lin and Jiang's two major conglomerates have announced their merger and tapped out another cell-phone system. There was a reply to the "What's the situation" I posted half an hour ago. Luna, Mr. Brown didn't go. The target didn't arrive. The Mackerel Harbor deal is cancelled. I frowned. Mr. Brown was Mr. Brown. Shortly after Ryan's death, when Dad's protege came to visit Mom at the nursing home, I overheard them at the door saying that the target who killed Dad had a new lad. And Mr. Brown was the target's new buyer. The target is now codename J. Mr. Brown has been profiteering in the gray area for a year. And he's been insatiable. But careful not to blow his cover. In order to find Jay through this line, I defied everyone and approached Mr. Brown to get information without any backup. I worked hard for most of the year before I managed to reach him a few days ago. It was also on that day that I learned that Ryan wasn't dead and that the two of them were still related. But how could the deal be cancelled after yesterday to probe for information? My brows tight and a few more points. Do as you're told. Don't take any more chances. If anything happens to you, what face do we have to go to the ground and face Master? I looked at the message I just sent, pursed the corners of my lips and typed rapidly. Don't worry, Luna. I have my measure. Whatever it takes. I'll be able to help. I kissed the side of my mom's face and turned to leave the hospital room. 12. It was almost sunset when I came out of the nursing home. The setting sun shed a warm yellow color. When I was almost downstairs at home, a familiar figure leaned against a sycamore tree, looking away from me. And it was only yesterday that I told him I'd never see him again. I paused for a moment, pinching the corner of my coat with my fingertips, and greeted him with a feigned calmness. Before he could say anything, I was the first to speak out. Congratulations. He was a bit stunned. Congratulations for what? I saw the news. Lin Jiang, two big groups merged. You are the biggest person in charge. The wedding date has been set, right? When will you get married? He shook his head. There won't be a wedding. I'm not going to marry Vivian. You're the only one I'm going to marry. He stepped forward to take my hand, and I immediately took a step back. Thank you for today. I'll transfer the money from the nursing home to you. Ryan's eyes darkened and he dropped his hand. No need. It's something I'm willing to do. No need to transfer it to me. I won't take it. I wrinkled my nose and said after a long moment, whatever. He didn't answer and the silence lasted for a few moments. I let out a breath that I had been holding in my chest. Did you come over for something? Nothing. I just came to see you. I nodded and lifted my steps towards the door of my house. The Tashuan sun was already halfway down, and the shadows were stretched out, less than 2 meters away. My body was violently enveloped by a light men's perfume. A warm chest slammed into my back, and 2 arms hugged me tightly from behind. Ryan buried his head down, Close to my ear. 3 days tops. In 3 days. I'll tell you everything and I'll be back by your side. Wait for me. The heat that had clung to my back slowly receded as the tail end of my voice fell. And I didn't say a word or turn around. The sound of footsteps behind me faded away. I closed my eyes and took a step towards home, finishing the last of my eyeliner. I got up and took a few steps back, surveying the person in the mirror. A low-necked red dress with black heels and heavy makeup. Dark circles under her eyes from almost a night's sleep are tightly covered by foundation. I snorted. The only capital I could approach Mr. Brown with right now was the skin. I headed out the door, swept up an electric bike, and waited patiently at the corner. After learning that the deal was cancelled, I stared at the villa from afar for 2 days. And both days Mr. Brown came home closer to the same time, so I came to take my chances. Sure enough, a minute later, Mr. Brown's car appeared at the entrance to the road. I took a deep breath, mounted my motorcycle, turned out of the intersection, and then crashed into it in a crooked and seemingly panic-stricken manner. Dang. I let out a miserable scream as the motorized bike pulled me hard to the ground. What are you doing? What are you doing? Look at the car up to hit. The driver got out of the car and scolded angrily. I did not respond. Just holding my calves and sobbing. The stockings of my calves have been torn a big hole. Skin abrasions are still losing blood. Mr. Brown got out of the car and met my eyes with a sobbing, helpless woman. Yo, it's you. He crouched down to look at me with interest. What are you doing here? I shrunk my neck and said softly. I went to work at the bar and passed by here. And I was running late. So I rode a little faster. Mr. Brown laughed, his fat hand caressing my face. Little beauty. I haven't yet honored the $100. Zero I promised last time. How about tonight? I will be very gentle. I looked up at him. My eyelashes quivered and I nodded slightly. He picks me up colorfully and takes me by the waist again, walking towards the villa with his arms around me. A few bodyguards following close behind. 14 I leaned petulantly against Mr. Brown as the front door opened. And Vivian was actually here, only with a slight scowl on her face, as if she was holding back her anger. You've been given all the money. Where's what I want? Vivian's eyes red and as she hissed at Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown didn't get angry, but smiled and said, What's the hurry? Nephew-in-law. I didn't say I wouldn't give it to you. He took out a box from under the dark compartment of the cabinet and casually threw it to Vivian. And Vivian stumbled to reach it as if she were picking up some treasure. She couldn't wait to open the box, rip off the cap, and zap it against her arm, followed by a contented sigh of relief. I watched the scene with sullen eyes and chills through my body. Mr. Brown fished out a pillbox from somewhere and smiled as he administered the medicine. Vivian, crooked on the couch, glanced at me and lazily said, Deal with it when you're done having fun. My body stiffens as Mr. Brown touches my thigh from my calf and says regretfully, TSK. TSK. That's a shame. I blushed in horror and shook my head in panic, my voice shaking. Don't. I'm obedient. I won't tell. Mr. Brown laughed as he ripped me into his arms, followed by a hard object against my abdomen. Instant death, like silence fell around us. My brow furrowed and my body stopped shaking as I slowly backed away. It was a gun. Beauty. Which side of the fence? Staring at me for so long. Mr. Brown tugged at the corner of his mouth. Cold sweat slowly soaked my back. I forced myself to calm down, but still trembled. Mr. Brown. What are you saying? I don't understand. Click. The gun is loaded. Mr. Brown raised the gun to my brow. Little beauty. It's no fun pretending any longer. As soon as the words were out of my mouth, there was a loud bang at the door. The door was slammed open. There were 2 bodyguards at the door. And Mr. Brown hadn't closed it when he brought me in. The bodyguards were paralyzed on the floor. A bunch of cops broke through the door. And Mr. Brown instantly yanked me up and back a few steps. His arm was wrapped around my throat. And the cold muzzle of his gun was pressed against my temple. Don't move. Drop your weapon. Vivian, on the other hand, is immediately taking control. Struggling uncontrollably on the couch. Luna raises her gun and aims it at Mr. Brown. And I'm a little stunned when the man behind me lets out a low curse. What was going on? Why would the police be out now? Wouldn't it be a lost cause if we spooked him now? What I didn't expect even more was a lean but not weak man walking through the doorway. It was Ryan. Ryan's face is stone-faced. His eyes glaring deathly at Mr. Brown. His fists clenched. Vivian cracks. Ryan. You son of a bitch. I gave you the Ginger family, and this is how you treat me. Because her face was pressed against the sofa. Her angry curses were a bit slurred. Ryan's eyes gouged at her like an arrow knife. The tenderness and love from the engagement was gone. When your Zhang family caused me to lose my family. Have you ever thought about today? Vivian was still struggling desperately. Looking crazy. And was escorted out in no time. Now all the eyes in the room were on Mr. Brown and I. I could feel his hand shaking slightly with the gun. Mr. Brown. You are surrounded. Drop your weapon. Mr. Brown swept a glance at Luna. Then his eyes settled on Ryan, and he cursed indignantly. Ryan. You son of a bitch. You're a good nephew to me. He strangled me with instant force and I was instantly breathless. The air in my lungs was already dwindling and choking made me turn a little blue. Ryan took a giant step forward in shock. Mr. Brown immediately barked. Don't move. Move and I'll shoot her. The room froze. Damn it. Who the hell are you to arrest me? What's the charge? Where's the evidence? Mr. Brown was getting more and more agitated. His hands were shaking more and more. There's a lot of it. Illegal trading. Illegal possession of a weapon. Tax evasion. Willful injury. Luna's tone was low. Mr. Brown strangled me and took another step back. So many charges listed. Do you have proof? Luna dropped the last bomb. Jay is in the net. You can't get away with it either. Hearing the code name Jay, Mr. Brown briefly froze. His hand unconsciously loosening. I took advantage of this opportunity and made a sudden push. In the nick of time, I ignored the elbow that was strangling my neck, and reached out to pounce on Mr. Brown's gun and raised it violently. Mr. Brown also pulls the trigger at this instant. Bang! A puff of ash falls and a hole is punched in the ceiling. 16 young male police officers stride forward and take Mr. Brown down, pinning him to the ground. I took a few quick steps back. And Ryan immediately greeted me with obvious fear lingering on his face. Eva, how are you? Are you hurt? He pulled me in and scanned me up and down a few times. And I shook my head lightly. Things had come to a head. And I pretty much understood what happened to him. The Zhang family caused Ryan's parents to die. And Lin's group was wiped out in one fell swoop. In order to take revenge, Ryan pretended to pursue Vivian, wanting to find evidence of the murder. Unexpectedly, Ryan found out that he had a blood disease halfway through his life. And he did use up all his savings to cure the disease. It just so happened that Vivian snapped. And he approached me. He was supposedly still in contact with Vivian during the year he was with me. After Vivian moved on, she told Ryan to pull out. Ryan had to have a fake death to avoid my pursuit and entanglement. And also took the opportunity to go for a bone marrow transplant, which cured him completely. The Lin family rose again. And Lin and Zhang were married. And then later, it was me who crashed everything. I lowered my eyes, not knowing what to say. Mr. Brown's angry curses came from behind me. And I turned my head to see that he had his hands on the ground. And the police officer who was holding him down was pulling out silver handcuffs. Mr. Brown's eyes red and as he stared at Ryan. And he let out a sudden roar. Like a dying animal trying to make a last. And he sprang up. and the two officers were flipped to the ground, their handcuffs slicing into the distance with a sharp snap. No one reacted. He pulled a butterfly knife from his pocket and stabbed Ryan in a frenzy. The moment was stretched to infinity. My mind went blank. All my reactions in that moment were physical instinct. At the same time, Luna fired. And Mr. Brown fell to the ground in a wailing heap as blood splattered from his thigh. In the next instant, Luna ran toward me in panic. And Ryan circled in front of me, trembling and shaking. They seemed to be shouting and hissing so hard it seemed exaggerated. My eardrums felt like they were stuffed with cotton, and I couldn't really hear anything. All my senses converged on my chest. It hurt. I glanced downward in a daze. The butterfly knife was sticking straight into my heart. 17 ambulance. I lost all my strength in an instant and fell backward in a crumpled heap. But my body didn't hit the ground. Ryan caught me. Ava, I'm begging you. Hold on. Ryan's hand caresses my face. And even though my heart is in severe pain right now, I can still feel his fingers shaking violently. Luna kneels beside me as well, her eyes reddening as she tugs on my hand. I twisted my head laboriously to look at Luna. Jay, truly. Really. It's true. Luna didn't lie to you. We caught him from the other line. Your dad didn't die in vain. It's over. You've got to get through this. Luna was shaking so hard too. I shuttered my eyes and mumbled. Really? Good. I cough up a sudden stream of bloody foam. Ava? I struggled to twist my head to look ahead again. Lynn, yes. Ryan's voice came from above my head. My vision was now blurred to the point where I couldn't see much. All I could do was feel large, hot drops of water dripping down my face. I reached up through the excruciating pain and my hand was immediately taken. Knowing you're not dead. Actually, I'm glad. With each word, the pain at my heart increased. The back of his hand was pressed against a warm forehead, and an agonized whimper came to his ear. Ave, no. I know it all, please. You don't have to say it. It's going to be okay. It's all going to be okay. The hand being held was shaking. My body's strength was fading rapidly, and I forced down a mouthful of blood. My eyelids so heavy I couldn't lift them anymore, and slowly closed them. But I still don't forgive you. But I still don't forgive you. You lied to me so hard. Ava. Eva. Even though you approached me with an ulterior motive. But you can confess everything. Ave, beg you. I beg you. Open your eyes and look at me. Look at me, where's the doctor? The ambulance isn't here yet. And you chose to lie to me. To leave me in a way I couldn't stand. I'm wrong. I'm really wrong. You don't have to do this. Ava. So I got angry. Didn't want to care about you anymore. With my consciousness muddled, I remembered that midsummer night for no reason. Look. Your name is sometimes. My name is years. Sometimes Ava. The alternation of seasons and the rotation of the sun and moon are all in these two words. Aren't we a perfect match? How nice. I thought to myself. If only I could stay in that time. Or maybe in my next life I'll meet a good person and not remember anything. Yes. I should remember nothing. Ryan. Goodbye. The goodbye was left unspoken as a bird crashed against the window with a crunch. And everything around me followed in complete silence. I was drowned by the infinite darkness and coldness. Out of nowhere, a faint glow of stars appeared before my eyes. And a tall figure with 3 stars on his shoulders was waiting for me at the intersection. I leapt to my feet and ran. Dad. I'm coming for you.